Tesla CEO Elon Musk says he will be voting Republican in upcoming elections. That's despite his history of voting primarily for Democrats. Musk said on his Twitter, "In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party, but they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will be voting Republican." Musk said he expects political attacks on him will escalate dramatically in the coming months. Fall midterm primaries are upon us, and voter enthusiasm in some key states is on the side of Republicans. Republican turnout is up nearly 30% since 2018 midterms in states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. The Oklahoma primaries are about a month away. Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen is running for U.S. Senate in that state. We had a chance to sit down with him. Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, thank you for joining us on the Capitol Report again.
Thanks for having me. It's a beautiful setting.
Absolutely. Congressman, there's quite a few primaries have already come to pass. Yep. You have a pretty big one coming up for your Senate race in Oklahoma. What do you think are going to be some of the key issues that decide the outcome of the midterms?
Well, who can people relate with? Who do they want to sit down and have a conversation with, and who can they trust in their future? We have a lot of contested seats in Oklahoma. You have Frank Lucas. It really has his first contested primary ever. My current congressional seat's open. You have both U.S. Senate races that are on the ballot, which is just almost unheard of, right? So you have James Langford, and then ours is a special election. And honestly, people are really concerned about inflation. That's a huge issue. It's costing everybody right now across the United States an average of $325 plus per month. And you take Oklahoma, and in just my district alone, the average household income is just barely $40,000 a year. Household income. You add $325 plus to that a month just for inflation cost. That's a big issue. Another big issue going on in our state, believe it or not, is these transgender athletes. It's an issue in our schools. Parents that have kids in school, like myself, I have 3 boys and 3 daughters. All of our kids are athletes. They all compete. That's been a hot issue. And it's different for different people, but those 2 big issues rank number 1 and number 2 in our state on things that the Oklahoma voters are concerned about.
Congressman, as I look over your shoulder right here, I see the Supreme Court, and I'm guessing in a red state like Oklahoma, the pro-life issue is going to be something huge. Major. How big of an issue is that?
Well, Oklahoma is the reddest state in the union, and we take a lot of pride in that. So all 77 counties went red, and so that means all 77 counties believe in the sanctity of life. As a father of 3 biological kids and 3 kids that we got to choose, and I mean that. I mean, we have 6 wonderful kids. Someone loves that baby, and what we aren't for in Oklahoma is killing our future leaders and our future world changers. I get that you have unwanted pregnancies, but I'll tell you right now, from a father that has 3 adopted kids, that child is still wanted and can still be loved. In Oklahoma, we're not going to be killing babies. We're going to be saving babies' lives in Oklahoma, and we're going to continue to do so. And so it is a big issue, but we are actually celebrating the idea that we're going to be able to stop this horrible practice of killing babies, finally, because our state's going to make the right decision on saving those lives.
Now, Congressman, once Roe v. Wade becomes, reversed, if indeed it does, which is likely to happen, a lot of these issues are going to be up to the states. You see a lot of corporate America right now. You see Starbucks, you see Amazon wading into politics, saying that they're actually going to pay for their employees in red states to get abortions, whether that's paying for their flights to blue states to get it done. As a member of Congress who represents a red state, how do you read into that?
It's sick. I'm also a business owner. I also have, a tremendous amount of employees, my wife and I do. It makes you question. You go to some of these places and they start complaining about maternity leave. Maybe this is their sick way of saying that they're trying to control maternity leave because they're going to give the mother a choice to go kill that baby. That's sick. But why else would you be doing something like this? I mean, we as voters and we as consumers, we can choose to do business with them or not. I can choose to buy Starbucks or not. I'll choose not to. We can choose to use Amazon or not. I personally will choose not to. Let other people make those decisions. But as for corporations to say that they are literally going to pay for an employee to go to a different state to murder their baby, those are businesses that I don't choose to associate with. And I would hope a lot of people would feel the same, because if you want to do business in our state, then respect our laws. If you don't want to do business in our state, then just do businesses in those states that's going to offer those heinous abortions. Otherwise, get out of our state.
Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
The Biden administration halted its newly created Disinformation Governance Board about 3 weeks after it was announced by the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security told NTD in an email that it will conduct a thorough review of how the department can address disinformation while protecting free speech and increasing trust with the public. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has asked for the final recommendations within 75 days. The DHS says during this time, the Disinformation Governance Board, otherwise known as the Ministry of Truth, will not convene and its work will be paused. Nina Jankowicz was tapped by the White House to lead the board. She told news outlets Wednesday that she has submitted her resignation. She said that the board's future is uncertain. Republicans were concerned that the board would violate free speech and could be weaponized against conservative voices. There was outcry among Republicans when Jankowicz was selected to lead that board. They claimed that she herself posted politically motivated misinformation. The Justice Department is suing casino mogul Steve Wynn. The DOJ says the lawsuit aims at compelling Wynn to register as an agent of Communist China. In 2017, Wynn asked then-President Trump to remove a Chinese business person seeking asylum in the United States. Reports say Wynn was acting on the Chinese regime's behest to protect his business interest in Macau. The Department of Justice released a statement saying that the lawsuit against Wynn is to demonstrate a commitment to transparency and that the American people have a right to know where a foreign government uses an American to influence policy decisions. You may or may not have heard, with so many things entering the news cycle, but a week ago, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida took unprecedented action. He signed into law a bill that requires students K through 12 to learn about the perils of communism. This comes at a time when record numbers of young people are showing favorable opinions of socialism in polling across the country. Senator Marsha Blackburn is clear on the pitfalls of communism, and we're happy to have her on to discuss. Senator Marsha Blackburn, thank you so much for joining us in the Capitol Report.
I'm delighted to join you. Thank you.
Senator, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida just recently signed into law mandating the teaching of the history of communism and the harm that it has caused throughout the world. Why do you think he did this, and what is the significance of this type of legislation?
When you look at the action that Governor DeSantis has taken, and when you look at the state of Florida and the number of people who came to Florida out of Cuba to escape Castro and to escape that regime, and who know firsthand the impact of communism on their lives, I think it makes sense that he would do this. When I talk to Tennesseans who have lived in areas, whether it is Cuba, whether it is escaping from Venezuela, whether it is coming out of the old Soviet Union, one of the things that they mentioned to me is how concerned they are that today's students don't understand what communism and socialism and Marxism actually is, and the suffering, the depravity, the poverty that people are forced into, the loss of freedom of speech, the loss of freedom of religion, how they push to change your culture, and it concerns them. So I applaud Governor DeSantis for taking these steps and making certain that people don't forget what people have suffered under communism.
Senator, you make an excellent point there with people that have left communist countries really understanding the nature of it. You also have some of our older generations, especially those who fought against communism, whether that be the Korean War, the Vietnam War, that they know the horrors of communism. Yet we do see these young people gravitating toward this ideology, pop culture icons wearing these Che Guevara t-shirts and revolutionary fists becoming acceptable political statements and so on. Why do you think the disparity, and what might that suggest?
It's so interesting to talk to people that have lived through these regimes, or people that have fought, as you had mentioned, or individuals who still have family in China that are suffering under the Chinese Communist Party. And many times they will mention that the further you get from some type of communist takeover, and the lack of attention that media now puts on some of these communist activities, such as you see right now taking place in China, where you have the Uyghur Muslims and the genocide being carried out against them. You have the suffering that the Tibetans have been forced through in recent history. And then you look at Venezuela and how people have fled from there to move away from Maduro and from the impact of communism and Marxism on their lives there. If it is not covered with the media, then people don't understand that. And today, let's take, for example, someone who is going to the store and they're purchasing NBA-made merchandise that is made in China, that is made in Xinjiang province, where you have the Uyghur Muslims who are basically being used as slaves. But then the media doesn't really cover that, because these are American-based multinational companies, and they don't call out the Chinese Communist Party, which is in control of basically everything in China. So then that discernment not being placed on these activities by the media allows kids to not realize the importance of saying, I'm not going to patronize this merchandise, I'm not going to buy these components, because they're using people as slaves to make these products.
Senator Marsha Blackburn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Black box data from China's plane crash in March that killed 132 people has been recovered. U.S. investigators say that the plane was crashed intentionally, most likely by the pilot. The Boeing 737 plane descended to 8,000 feet over a mountainous area of Guangxi, China, and then made a nosedive into the ground, killing everybody on board. The black box data indicates that someone in control of the plane forced it to crash. Boeing stocks rose 6.5% on the news that it was not a technical malfunction of the plane. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board says that all further updates on the crash will come from China's aviation authorities, and that it is not clear if there will be any future updates.